Hi there and welcome back to TheSimmersNook. We're doing another renovation of base game in my series of renovating base game starter houses, that we may move along to other starter houses, but for now we're only doing this 6. This is the 5th one, so this means that this is the second to last video of this series, at least for now. We're renovating today Steamlet Single, so we're back on Willow Creek. This is the last house we're going to do in Willow Creek, so it is kind of like bittersweet to finish this part of the series, but at the same time I'm kind of feeling ready to move on. So before we continue and I tell you a little bit about how I renovated this house and all of that, I'm gonna quickly tell you the conditions that I've set myself to renovate these houses. And I've set myself these rules so they're not set in stone. Sometimes I've been bending them a little bit to my will. But, you know, the main thing is that I want to keep them starter houses, so I want to keep them under 20,000 simoleons. That's been the case for every single one but the second one I did, and it's not a lot over 20,000 simoleons, so you can just go in and delete a window or something. But yeah, if you enter my gallery, you might see that one, and that one, yes, is a little bit over 20,000. But yeah, that's like the main goal that I want to keep, that and using mostly base game. And I'm saying mostly because that's one of the other ones that I failed, especially when using debug objects, because I wasn't too used to it and the filter and all, and it got me a little bit confused at first. Then another thing that I've kind of said myself, and is a little bit objective to be honest, like you can interpret it in whatever way you want, is that I'm trying to keep the house's style or essence, or however you want to call it. And I know this sounds really subjective, because it is. Basically what it means for me is that this is a renovation, not a build from scratch. So I want to use what's there. So I might move some walls, I might change wallpapers, I might change the structure of the house, but overall, you know, it stays basically the same. Come to a point right now when doing the 5th house that is becoming way easier for me to do these houses, but also a little bit boring. And this is why I might pause this challenge for a little bit. My initial idea was to continue with other worlds and just kind of like do the next world with the next packs that came along with that world to, you know, keep on going with the series. So my limitations will be base game and that world pack. Basically, I realized that I'm getting a little bit bored of these renovations. And while it's fun to see the change between the initial house and what I do, and a lot of times it motivates me a lot when I see the before and after, more so than when I'm building. My problem is starting to be that as we're only using base game and we have a limit of money, you end up limiting yourself a lot with the objects. You end up going for the cheapest objects. So by the time you're renovating 5 houses, I feel like they all look kind of similar in a sense. Like there's not much I can do, for example, with the bathroom. Like I mainly end up using the same mirrors and the same bed, kitchen countertops. They end up being almost always the same. I don't know, it's starting to get a little bit boring in that sense. I will also like to see what you want to see in this channel, because it's really fresh and brand new, and I still want to experiment with a few things to see in which direction we want to go. Okay, let's talk about the Steamlet single house. I think another of the reasons why I was a little bit bored is that it feels like all the houses in Willow Creek look the same. Even in Oasis Spring, I feel like they look a lot different between one and the other, and I feel like each of them, I don't know, has had its own personality. But here in Willow Creek, they all have like the same roofing pieces, the same colors and wood outside. At first I thought I wanted to keep it, and I kind of do, because I want them to look nice together. I think the one that I had more fun with was probably Daisy Hovel, and Maybe it was because I went crazy with the vegetation out there, but I feel like that one is probably the one that I like the most out of these three. I'm happy with all the renovations. I'm not gonna say I'm not. Here we went for a green color scheme, and I've used so far in the first one that was Creek Cabana, I've used a blue color scheme kind of based on what we had in the base of the house. For Daisy Hovel, I was thinking about keeping the blue, but I ended up going for white and brown, and I really like that combination. For this one we went with green. Because the house was already green, I changed the green to one that for me I think it looks a little bit more interesting. It's a little darker and a little richer. I feel like that helps with the look of the house. Then I also changed, the railings and the porch a little. I really like how it turned out, the porch, like going a little around for a change, because the previous ones, both Daisy Hovel and Creek Cabana, have the same like square porch, rectangular porch in the front. Now for the inside, I changed the layout completely, as I usually do, because most of these layouts, I don't know, maybe I do weird layouts, but they don't feel like too natural to me. This time I knew that I wanted to keep the kitchen where it was because I kind of like the bump out of the house. I wanted to keep it. After that, I just did the basic thing. In this one, this is another one of the houses that has two bedrooms, well, two rooms, because I always turn one into a studio. I've said it before in previous videos, but a lot of times in these starter houses, I don't feel like you need two bedrooms because they're really tiny. And a lot of times you end up moving by the time you have a family or you have more people in the house. So I feel like you really don't need to have another bedroom. Now, this studio is always left a little bit empty because I don't want to spend too much money, but ideally you could put a computer there because it's really useful, as you know, for The Sims to build skills and all of that. Then the other one is just a normal bedroom, and you have like your bathroom and kitchen, living room, kind of in an open space sort of thing. I don't like hallways, especially not in these really tiny houses. So I try to avoid them as much as possible. I try to keep like open spaces. And so for the inside, I also kind of kept the color scheme that I was going for on the outside. And that was like the green touches. But I went for a wider neutral color inside. On the kitchen, I kept the brick wall and I decided to go for red so it matches the brick on the outside. For some reason that made sense to me. And then, as I already had used a little bit of red there, I thought that I could use some red accents in the bathroom as well. I think in this house, my favorite nook is the kitchen, and I also put a dining table and some chairs in the other wall. And then I also divided a little bit with a small half wall between the second door to the porch. I really like the table corner with the two chairs. For some reason, that feels really like a cozy to me. I didn't mention this. I used this leaf wallpaper. I think I've mentioned in another build that initially I didn't like this wallpaper, but for some reason now I really like it. I feel like it gives a nice hint of something different in the houses. I actually kept it in the bedroom as well because I thought that it could look nice. What I try to do so it doesn't feel too much is I try to keep the decoration simple and the bed simple. Also, the colors are like very muted there. In all honesty, I feel like it's a little bit on the boring side, but I didn't want to go with bright tones because I don't feel like they matched with the house. I put an easel outside because for some reason it was calling to me that there should be an easel there. I mean, you have a nice view, you can just get out and paint. This house came up to, let me see, 18,680. It's not too much. You still have like 1,000 so simoleons to work with your Sims when you move in here. As I said, I'm not mad about how the house came out, but I do feel like it looks simpler than I wish it would have been. Sometimes I'm thinking, should I renovate this houses again, doing anything I want, like with all the money I want? For the exterior, I was very unsure about what to do with the exterior because, again, I feel like I'm running out of ideas. All these houses are so similar that at certain points you're like, what should I do with this one so it doesn't look like the same? I found a fence on Debug and I put it around the house, only around a couple of parts. I added a tree or two. I didn't want to go overboard as I did with Daisy Hovel, so I kind of decorated around the fence with some bushes and things, and I tried to make them not look too neat, because I feel like it's better when it looks a little bit overgrown. Maybe in real life you wouldn't like it like that, but I feel like in The Sims it gives it a touch, so it looks a lot more lived in. Then in the back left side of the house, I put a little nook where you can sit down. I put a bench there and just some more plants. I also went to search for the rocks on debug. I've been loving using those. It can get a little bit annoying because you do have to place them one by one, sometimes making them smaller or bigger. So I went with those and I made like a little pathway from the back door to that little nook. And I also added a few up on the front, just enough, like not too many. I didn't want to go overboard. I feel like I said that a lot and then I go overboard a lot, but so yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say of this build. I'm just gonna hint it at you right now, because it's not a big secret. I was thinking of starting an horoscope series after this, because I knew that's a theme that a lot of people like. I don't believe in them, but I find them really interesting, and I think I've seen a couple of horoscope building series, and I really like how they put the horoscope personality in the house. So I was thinking about that. I'm still like getting around of how I should do it, if I should put a money limit. I really don't want to go crazy and do mansions because that's a lot of time. I'm also not a very good expert in doing mini houses or tiny houses as some people do, but maybe that would be a good challenge to try and experiment in doing tiny houses. I don't know. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that idea, if you would like to see something like that. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like if you did, and leave me a comment because that always helps with the algorithm, especially me that I'm starting out. I'll see you with the next one, building the last one of these series, and then we'll keep on going with other things. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!